Holy shit. Well, the weekend was supposed to be a bummer, and you know what happened? A couple of crazy things happened this weekend. And Tom Lee joining me all the way over there in Aussie land, all the way across the planet at Tom_Lie92. Glad you're back. We weren't here last week. We had some problems, but we fixed it. We got them fixed. Look, I am your host with the most time on his hands. I am Thomas Tipple FF. What a fucking day on Twitter. Oh, my Lord. From people selling their accounts and just the weirdest interactions. I'm not going to talk about it too long, but just be kind to people. We say it all the time. Oh, my God. The Ravens got absolutely punched square in the dick. The Bengals wore their budgie smugglers as a team and went in there and absolutely pumped them. Didn't see that coming. Right. Cleveland, Denver was a wild start to the week. New England decided that, the Jets, we don't actually going to let them play football today. The Giants killed the Panthers. We just had some wild weeks. The Vegas-Philly game was kind of wild. Arizona-Houston was expected, but didn't, like, when you look at the score, 31-5, I don't think that score tells a good story of how that game went, because it was not pretty for Arizona, who, in my opinion, is a very lucky undefeated team right now.
Yes.
Indy shit pumped San Francisco thanks to the end of the game, and then New Orleans and Seattle was a stinker. Look, Big Billy FF could not get the review done this week, so Tom Lee and I decided that we're going to do a little bit of a review.
Yeah.
We're not going to do your typical review. Well, the Jets really struggled against No, not that. Fuck that. We're going to take what we normally do, which is apply true value in Dynasty to the outcomes of these games and kind of ask ourselves, what the hell happened to our Dynasty teams?
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing today. And, of course, we've got Budgie Smuggler. We're going to get the hard yakka, right? That's what we just described. Lots of stuff happening today. But first, what we always like to do is kind of look, the news can be exhausting in fantasy football. We're not going to talk about Watson, right? We're not going to talk about just the stuff that gets talked about to death.
We're not going to speculate. That's it. Yeah.
We're not going to speculate. We're not going to talk about injuries like we're some Link MD doctor, right? Ambulance chasing player injuries. We're not going to do that. What we are going to do is quickly run through some of the headlines and just point out what we care about, what we don't care about, and give a little 10 to 15 seconds as to why. So, Tom Lee, do we care about Zach Wilson's PCL, Chubb, Dak, and Judy all expecting to come back? Joe Flacco gets traded to the Jets. The GOAT gets to start once again. Sam Darnold benched. That's bullshit. Don't give me the narrative. He was benched at the end of the game and is projected to start this week. Sermon didn't play because he's dog shit. Ayuk messed up a fumble, and Deshaun Watson trade. Do we care about most of this, or is all of this kind of like don't adjust too much right now is kind of what I'm asking.
I mean, we care because it's what we're dealing with, right? And that's really what Do We Care is about. Here's the shit that every fantasy manager is dealing with. What are we reacting? Are we jumping at spot? What's going on? So Zach Wilson's PCL and Flacco expecting to start. Look, the Jets weren't really massive as far as fantasy options go anyway. But Flacco has brought some relevance to a couple of their receivers before. Something to keep an eye on. And if you're really desperate, as some of us are through these buys at quarterback in our Dynasty leagues, by all means, jump on and grab him off the waivers, because he'll dead set be there, and he'll probably be cheap because no one's expecting much from him. Chubb, Dak, Judy, thank God, a few of our soldiers return, especially after last week. Barmageddon was a little rough for a lot of us. Not so rough for you and I, but, saw quite a few bad beats and some sad stories out there. The San Francisco stuff's fun, but it's more just to beat up on your owners in your leagues who have those guys. We're not Team Sermon. There's something going on in San Fran. It's not great.
Yeah. Look,
I'm bummed about Ayuk, but it's just,
The monsoon definitely affected that game, but Garoppolo sucking at the end of the game also did.
Weather-affected games this week made the primetime ones a bit of a bummer, but
for the most part, they've been absolutely dynamite.
Yeah.
Look, we're also going to talk about the god of the fantasy walkabout, Cooper Kupp, who did his thing again.
He did.
He is the GOAT. Look, I care about a few of these things, right? The Darnold thing. I think we're at a point now, 3 games with, 3 games without, where we understand that offenses that build everything entirely around a very special running back, when that running back's not there, everything dies. Most importantly, big FU to Robbie Anderson for consuming 9 to 13 targets a week and turning it into 12 yards because you can't play a ball and you drop everything. So a big FU from me and Darnold. Stop getting targets, please. I also want to talk about Trey Sermon. What more do we need to see? And we're going to talk about this a little bit more in the San Francisco. What more does it have to be? He had 11 snaps on special teams. On special teams. People were still, Tom Lee, you saw it. You know what I'm about to speak of. People were still trading first-round picks for Trey Sermon because of draft capital. Draft capital. He is a unathletic. He's an average athletic running back that doesn't fit that system.
Yes.
So fuck the draft capital. It was time to move on a while ago, but another 100-yard performance. And 55 of that came on the first drive and the touchdown. Right?
Yep.
And then San Fran's whole team exploded. But throughout the game, he was still solid and the only back to get a carry, if I'm not mistaken. So I care about that. Trey Sermon's dead to me. Everything else, I'm not over panicking. I'm not really picking up Flacco unless I need to. We're not going to talk about the Watson trade because none of us know shit about the Watson trade. I know I'm cussing a lot today, but there's a lot to get off my chest today.
We're nearly halfway through. This is what happens halfway through the year. Everything starts to grind on us. Weeks get harder. We're all there. We're all here. We get it.
Yeah,
you know, it's Australian.
So
it's fine.
I'm just blending. Also, I have to talk to you about vacation plans because we may be on our way to Australia again, as long as it doesn't get set on fire again. Because that's what stopped us last time. Because we were literally planning it, had a spot picked out, actually in Brisbane, which is the craziest part.
This is pretty
good. Stay in this. We were gonna rent a place for like 7 days. It was like a little house for 7 days. It was like right outside of Brisbane. It was super dope. We completely ran into each other because we were.
You have to learn how to say Brisbane, but that's fine.
Hey, I'm still Canadian, right?
That's fair.
So yeah, we'll have to talk about that. But yeah, it is Australian. That's what we're doing today. Few extra cusses. So we're not gonna talk about the Watson thing because we don't know shit about fuck. And Ayuk, man, I don't know if you can get something for him, do it. But for the most part, you're either buying or holding because it can't get worse. Yeah. He's disappeared. He's gone. But they are still only throwing to one player, and it's Debo. They don't really even throw it to anyone else. So just watch it. Interesting, but one up for Debo. So that's going to do it for the news. We're 10 minutes in. I think we can move on to the good stuff here.
Move on. Yeah.
When we come back, we're going to do Foot Falcon. We'll do Hard Yakka, and then we'll do Budgie Smuggler at the end because Tom didn't prepare one. That's me, this Tom. Host Tom. Didn't prepare one this week because he forgot. So I'm going to stop talking in the third person. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, like I said, we're going to do Foot Falcon Friday, which is a Thursday night football mini preview. Then we're going to do a little bit of the review and player eval moving forward. So sit tight. We're coming back. You know, Tom Lee, my favorite part about doing review at this point in the season is how easy, or not review, preview. This part in the season with how many injuries and bye weeks there are, it's really easy. Hey, are they playing? Play everyone.
Yeah.
That's what's happening. It's Green Bay. It's Arizona. It was supposed to be a really good game, but Adams is on the COVID list. Lazard is on the COVID list. It's going to be a lot of running the football from Green Bay, most likely. Their defense is really good. You play, obviously, all 4 wide receivers. I would play Green. I would play Kirk. I would play Rondale.
Yeah.
Hopkins. I would play everyone, and Connor if you got him, right? You play everyone, and even Ertz at this point. I don't have a lot to say about this. I think I'm gonna go Arizona 24, Green Bay 16.
I think the biggest
question is my score. I don't have a lot to add for this game personally.
The biggest question for me is Aaron Rodgers. So, can you play him? I mean, he's been solid so far this year.
You have to.
Well,
Who else are you
yeah,
gonna play in the Superflex League? Who else do you got?
So what? I mean, he's QB9 in PPR so far this year. Like, is there a streamer on your roster that you're possibly playing over him? What can you expect?
Who are you gonna go? Joe Flacco? Because in your leagues right now, for the Superflex,
there's
no
dire.
quarterback available.
Yeah.
So what are you gonna do? Put $75 on Flacco or play for 75 fab, like 75%, and bench? You're not doing. You got to play him.
No.
You're just what you're doing. What you're doing is you're playing him with tempered expectations.
Yeah, you're hoping that the tight ends, whoever's playing in that position, whilst they may not be a starting tight end, can catch the ball.
You're hoping that he throws it to Aaron Jones. Rogers. Yeah, Aaron Jones 10 like does a Kamara. Well. Oh, is he? Oh, fuck that. Okay, well,
their whole wide receiver core is
Randall Cobb's gonna have himself a game, but
I've got to even check if Cobb's playing. So this is
that could change for tomorrow, right? But
so keep an eye on it. Temper your expectations on Aaron Rodgers, but otherwise play as much Arizona as you want.
I think that's it. I don't think this is going to be a great game. I don't think the over/under is going to be high.
No.
So all your and we're going to talk about Hopkins later because I have an opinion that Jacob super disagreed with. Jacob, our co-host at the Full Tilt Dynasty podcast.
It's been a talking topic all week. Yeah.
And earlier in the year, I called it too. So we're gonna talk about it later. But yeah, I think this game's not. I think this game's gonna be a little rough. So I think I'm good. I think we previewed that 3-4 minutes or less. So I think I think that's all.
I hope it's better than it looks on paper. I think that's the key takeaway.
Yeah,
it's just
I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna be less excited to watch James Conner get.
Let's do this. Yeah,
Connor's gonna get 14 carries again for some fucking reason. All right, we're gonna come back. We're gonna get into the heart of the whole thing for the next about half hour or so. So hang in there. When we come back, we're gonna get right back into it. So cool. All right, like I said, we're going to do a little bit of something that we don't do very often, right, Tom Lee? We're not exactly a do the review type show here, but
we normally leave it to our co-hosts, but
right,
we figure, why not? We'll put the backpack on and we'll go to work and we'll start reviewing the week that's been, because it's starting to get to that sort of time where there's a lot of narratives and it becomes important. So yeah,
my back doesn't hurt too much from carrying this operation. All right, look. So like I said, we're going to talk about the games, but by now you kind of know what's happened to the games, and by now you're starting to dig into the data from the games. So what Tom Lee and I like to do, use a little bit of data, use a little bit of theory, and just kind of use our brains on how maybe not the mass majority of people, but how we kind of all navigate leagues and how to react and overreact to this game. So I want to start with the first game of the week. The only players I want to talk about for fantasy relevance right now, because everyone else did. I'm just going to run it down. Sutton did what he had to, right? 68 yards, 5 receptions on 5 targets. Great. What was the receivers in Cleveland supposed to do with Case Keenum? I mean, not like that Mayfield's good. Fant did what he had to do. 5 catches, PPR. You're happy with it. But the 2 players I want to talk about are Baker Mayfield and Javonte Williams. Now, Javonte Williams had a okay game, really needs the backfield to himself. He's probably not going to get it this year at this point, but 4 carries for 20 yards, that's very good, and 6 catches on 7 targets for 32 yards, and he turned 1 into a touchdown.
Yeah.
This is the type of game that you hope for with him when Denver being down. They use Javonte, not Gordon, and this is a couple of weeks in a row. For me, this might be his best fantasy game of the year. Now I know JJ.
I think it's pretty close to it. Yeah.
No. Like it's gonna be. I don't think he tops his performance personally. I think it would take 2 touchdowns, right?
Yeah.
50 yards and then 50 yards receiving, 4 catches. I don't see that game for him if Gordon doesn't get hurt.
That's the key. Yeah.
So and I know icon of fantasy JJ Zacharyson said Zacharyson. I always say
Zacharyson. Yeah.
Yeah, I say it wrong every time. I need to learn how to say it. He said he was a buy. Now,
just do it.
So obviously he's a buy. Like, right, to me, that's obvious. He's been a buy the whole time.
Yeah.
But I mean, just for the sake of doing it, would you sell him off of this? Has he shown anything from you that makes you want to get rid of him? Because I think people have that question. Like for me, it's hard not to be biased because he
It's
was
tough
my
because
rookie one.
yeah, we love him. That's the
Yeah,
hardest part is
but he's
we love
breaking
him. We know
tackles
what he's
on
likely
every
to
play.
become. He's looking fantastic game wise.
He looks like what we wanted Josh Jacobs to be. He's breaking
the
tackles, he's creating yards,
yeah.
he's getting targets, and he's catching the ball.
The issue is what do you think you're getting for him?
Exactly. That's why I wanted to ask off of this game.
Because what you're likely to do is if you're in a situation where he was he was a late pick, right? He was like a 109 range
109,
pick, right? 108, 109. So your team was probably pretty good last year. If you played your cards right and things have fallen your way, you're likely to be competing this year. So the situation where you're likely to sell is probably that you're sort of 5-2, 6-1. You've got depth, and Javonte's been sitting on your bench most of the year, right? Now, what you're looking at is, can I straight swap him for someone at a comparable tier to get me more production this year? Still a bit of longevity, still that sort of thing. And I was talking to someone about this the other day, and looking at like a Joe Mixon style, right? And ironically, it's the next match we're going to talk about. But Joe Mixon, not crazy old, in theory has the workload, could produce and should produce consistently more than Javonte for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
For most people, he's going to be around about the same tier, if not a few other guys we might have a chat about and play the name game. That's the sort of straight swap I could understand people looking towards because they want that extra insurance of another gun running back coming in and not willing to wait for Javonte's development to get them there next year. Would I do it? No. Not unless I was very desperate. And even then, I'd look for other avenues. But I can see that becoming a pretty big temptation because he's looking good enough that everyone who's building for next year is going to go, this is the guy I want. Right.
Yes.
So I've got a rebuilding league. We don't like to talk about the leagues, but for me, I'm trying to sell Dalvin Cook and Alvin Kamara in one league because I need to redraft.
Good luck. That's the same combo I tried to get. I tried to move.
So I'm looking to move Cook for Javonte plus something. That is my ideal build move right now because it gives a producing player with a lot of value and it gets me the guy I think is going to be the future.
Right.
But as far as selling him, I'm not sure what you think you'd go for. Like, would you?
Same. I can't. Yeah. I can't do that because I can't imagine myself doing it. So I actually can't be objective in that sense because I've never done the work to figure that out.
Yeah. So if I offered you, let's just play a quick little name game for it. If I offered you Henry for Javonte straight up, and you're a competing team, would you take it?
I want to
because
talk about
that is
Henry,
a big competing.
I might do it.
Honestly. Big win now piece, right?
Yeah, I want to talk about Derrick Henry. We're going to do that a little later. So remind me about that one later because we're going to talk about Henry.
Yeah, the last one I bring up is probably Austin Eckler because I think he's probably more movable and he's also been the running back 4 on the year. He's a compete now piece. He's not crazy old. He's got the contract. Those are the two that I think you can tempt a Javonte owner for the straight swap. I think the value's fine on it. I think if you've got those pieces there and you want to cash them in, that's a fantastic straight swap to aim to do right now.
Yep, I agree, right? And I want to talk about Baker quick.
Yep.
We spent some time on this game. I want to talk about Baker. He sucks.
Yes.
He sucks for fantasy. He does.
Yes, for fantasy he sucks. Yes. Yeah.
Well, in real life too. But I mean, he's made Odell Beckham Jr. useless.
Yeah, he's irrelevant. Yep.
And he doesn't produce week 1 weeks very often. He's never been. He's Derek Carr, right? He's more expensive Derek Carr. He's more.
Yeah, he's a more expensive Derek Carr. Yeah.
Yeah. Like he's down there, just red zone, right? Red zone fantasy points. Let's go and find Baker Mayfield. Let's see. We all shit on Sam Darnold. He's 8th in red zone fantasy points. That's pretty good. Baker Mayfield's 27th. So part of that is the run game in Cleveland. It's so good that Dearness Johnson looked like a guy that people were talking about taking Kareem Hunt's job when he gets back, which is hilarious. But you know, that's not nothing. So to me, Baker Mayfield has been a sell for me for a long time.
Yes.
Right? If I could trade Baker Mayfield for Mac Jones off name alone, I'm doing it, and I'm doing it fast. Most people aren't going to do that, but I would add that plus that it would take to get Mac Jones for Baker Mayfield. Because we've seen, in my opinion, what Baker is going to be. And when I did chasing points for Dynasty Happy Hour, Tyler, who's a great guy, was kind of giving me some shit behind the scenes because I kept saying that Baker is, I don't want him.
Yeah.
And he kept saying, well, Dynasty. That's fine.
Yeah.
But he doesn't provide you with the mobility you're looking for in a fantasy asset for the most part.
Yeah.
He's not giving you enough as a pylon to be worthy of status.
Yeah.
What are we waiting for? He's got Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham, and I know that he's not healthy this year. What about the times when they were?
Yeah.
Right? And he just, what has he done? Not enough for me.
The major issues for me for Baker. So one, yes, the offense that is predominantly run-based, and then you've got checkdowns to tight ends, the slot receiver and Landry, and in theory you've got Odell who should be doing more. He doesn't need to take a lot of those options because the rest works so well. So what you have is a player who, in the right narrative, has had one or two big ceiling games because it's been the wrong way, the way they didn't want to play. But you've got a player who doesn't have the floor that you need for your QB2. So if you're going to have like a Derek Carr, Baker Mayfield conversation, Carr gives you the upside of a QB1 week every now and then, but he gives you the floor, which is probably more important for that second QB position. So this is the issue. This is why Baker's such a sell for both of us is without that floor, he becomes a liability on your team. And we're sort of seeing it a bit with Tua until he's getting that consistency. Is if you don't have that floor, you're going to get rolled in a lot of matchups that you really should be winning. Whereas a Mac Jones is giving you a lot more floor, a lot more stability. Whilst he doesn't have the upside and the ceiling just yet, I think he'll grow into it. I think because of how accurate it is, they'll start to build the game plan and build it out to become more offensive. But right now, he gives you the floor, which is like a perfect straight-up swap if you can get it done. Or like you said, a very small addition to try and switch the two based on Baker's name because, someone like Jones or Carr have the floor and have the playability, I think, over a Baker right now. And even with Dynasty, is it going to get better? Are they going to change that offensive scheme enough for it to happen? I don't think so.
So I'm just working really quick to pull something up here. I misspelled his name. That'll happen. Yeah, I did misspell his name. Shoot. Just give me 1 second. Look, here's the thing with Baker.
Mayfield. Yeah.
I want to talk about his, whenever I can find it. His fantasy points per game since 2019, because this is on Player Profiler.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to know if this is somebody you want in fantasy. Fantasy points per game. 25th, 25th, 25th. 15.8, 16, and 15.5. And this is supposed to turn around for him. What is it about it that's turning 53rd percentile in the 40, 28th in burst score, 73rd in agility score. He can rocket the ball according to Player Boo. Good for him.
Yeah.
So he's not providing the athleticism that even like a Ryan Tannehill is.
Yeah.
And he's thrown the 4 interceptable passes, 3 danger plays, and 10 money throws.
Yeah.
That's great. Those are great numbers. It's not producing fantasy points.
Yeah. If you're the Cleveland Browns, you're very happy with what he's doing. If you're a fantasy manager.
Yeah. Stefanski came and everyone got happy about Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, and it murdered Baker Mayfield.
His completion percentage is 67%, so it's more than serviceable. He's not passing a lot. He's only had 120 odd completions.
He's averaging fewer passing attempts per game than Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
That's pretty telling to me.
So, I think so.
Yeah, I'm out completely, right?
But like we say, the practical thing is what do you do with a player that you're out on? Because you need to have that practical advice. And for us, it's look for a guy who gives you the floor. Yeah.
For anything, pretty much. A playable quarterback and a plus is fine.
That's a win.
Honestly. Somebody out there would probably trade you Darnold and like a first.
Probably.
Right? For Baker. And why wouldn't you? Yeah, Darnold sucks. So does Baker.
A bench warmer and a first. Absolutely.
Yeah. You know who's not? Fucking QB. Oh my God.
4.
Hold on. No, Baker definitely is not.
Oh, right.
I can't
No,
find it quick.
25.
But like Baker's like QB 25. You know who's
Yeah.
not? It's Sam Darnold. So
Yes.
suck a fat one.
I thought you were talking about the next game. All right.
No. I want to talk about we're not obviously not going to get to every game at this point. So we are going to just kind of talk about our players. This is why we don't do reviews. The only player I want to talk about in this game, if I can help it, is Jamar Chase.
Okay.
At this point, there has got to be like 5 players I would take ahead of him in a draft. Maybe 7. But the caution
5 or
to
7,
that,
it's not 6. Yeah.
The caution to that is we thought the same thing with Justin Jefferson for like 3 weeks in the offseason.
Yeah.
And then it was AJ Brown, and then it was DK Metcalf, and before that, right? So this always happens.
Yes, correct.
And good for Chase. He's blown at expectations.
Yeah.
But again, even JJ said that regression should come at least a little bit, and you would think so.
It's just natural. I mean, that top end wide receiver is a rotating roster.
Right.
Like, yeah.
But Justin Jefferson, it didn't happen with Justin Jefferson. Okay, cool. Got it. Awesome. Maybe we see back-to-back record-breaking rookie years. But right now, it's kind of impossible to trade for him. No one's giving
Correct. Yes. You cannot acquire Jamar Chase right now.
Right. So for our process, we're going to look ahead to the next draft season. Is this it for you? Like, he's just it. He's number 1. He's the first receiver. He's 108 in a super flex. Like, what else does he need to do? What should people be looking for sustainability, right? And fantasy finish? Like, what are the things that are stopping you from taking him there? And what are you, because you were right up there with the AJ Brown in the second round.
Yeah.
Right. First receiver off the board convo. You're not now.
Yeah.
So what is it? How do people avoid that change so suddenly? And when you're looking ahead in the next draft season, if Chase is going to be that guy, right, for people, what makes him there and what would make people hesitant? So
the best bit for Chase is you're now justified. Like the average, so I think Chase was around wide receiver 9 or 10 coming into the year, just based on everyone's expectations, right? Had the drops in the preseason, which got a few people's boots quaking, which is quite funny.
Justin Jefferson can't separate.
Yeah. But the key is for those guys at the top, Lamb, Jefferson, any of the guys, Devontae Adams, those guys in the top end conversation, it's just a thick-ass tier, right? It's preference,
great timing,
it's tier.
Taylor.
Yeah. It is what it is. So
we're talking Bengals.
The best things for taking him above other options is that you have security at the quarterback position. You have the connection with the quarterback that he had in college. It looks amazing. Plus, his athleticism is still shining through. So he's actually making Joe Burrow look better than some of the throws are for Burrow, which is key to it, right? Jefferson gets volume, is an amazing athletic receiver, but that team is still run-based. Lamb, amazing receiver. That team is still highly talented. He will get big games, but also have low games. Chase is getting both the floor, the accuracy, the volume, and he's also athletically bursting away and creating big game plays.
Yep.
It is the Tyreek Hill style, not player, but the Tyreek Hill style of wide receiver ones.
Right.
That's the difference. You have a very high volume pass offense with a very accurate quarterback with, like, you have all the things. That is the only difference I see, is him holding onto that wide receiver 1 spot as opposed to others, because he has everything there.
Yeah, Taylor's right. He can win with route running. He can win.
Taylor's absolutely right. He has he's got everything.
Nasty. Yeah, he is. And here's what I want to talk about, because I don't think Justin Jefferson should be forgotten about. Right?
Oh, no. Yeah.
But the reason here's the reason why in draft season, just trust what you're seeing right now, no matter how the season finishes. He has, like you said, he's a different kind of wide receiver 1 potential. Now, defensive variance. This year, Cincinnati's defense is top 5, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
I can't tell you the last time that happened with their defense. Maybe Taylor can, right? But defensive variance matters a lot. So we're getting this Jamar Chase with a top 10 defense.
Yeah. He
in
doesn't need
every
game script to
category.
do
This is what we're getting.
Yeah.
Imagine negative game scripts. Unbelievable. T. Higgins came back and saw a career high in targets. He had 15 targets.
Yeah.
Jamar Chase said, yeah, forget it. Forget about it. I got this. One of those plays is sick. He broke tackles, he stiff-armed, and he literally took food off the plates of Baltimore's defenders in free agency.
And he even has so far had the ease-in period of 7, 4, and 5 target games to start the year. Went 23, 15, and 23 PPR points.
So
because he took them for yards and touchdowns because it's just
here's my thing for people that are listening, right? When you're sitting there sorting out your tiers, because we always talk about in tiers. It's better to be in tiers, you can trade in tiers, right? When you're moving receivers around at the end of the year, like what happens every week in season, let alone every other day in Dynasty Ether, right? So for when you're playing and when you're figuring things out for yourself in draft season, it's easier to just operate in tiers, in our opinion. When you're putting together that tier 1, that number 1 tier, to me, that should be the guys where you are not like Cooper Kupp, who is the wide receiver 1, who we will talk about, but who could be that wide receiver 1. He does it different. So did Justin Jefferson. So does DK Metcalf, right? And even Tyreek Hill. Against Marlon, too, he's beating the opponent's best of these. Marlon had one of the worst games of his life. His technique was horrific. Why are you playing him outside 3rd and 3? You know he's running a slant. Like, what the fuck are you doing? And anyway.
I blame Taylor for that. Don't talk about the
Jamar Chase literally deserves to be in the top. I don't think you can go there's a number 1.
No, it has to be.
Some people argue that it's Lamb. Some people are right.
Sure,
but
take your player. I don't care.
Those top 3 in that first tier, it's Justin Jefferson, it's CeeDee Lamb, and it's Jamar Chase, and Jamar Chase is ahead of the gang.
Yeah.
And then it's like DK Metcalf, AJ Brown, Tyreek Hill, and family.
So for pure Dynasty, you need a couple of different things to be in that top tier, right? You need unbelievable floor and consistency, which he now has and has shown. You need age.
Never scored under 13 PPR points.
Yeah, there's only one player next year that'll start to age out of that category, and it's Devontae Adams, and that'll be an interesting talking point come the season and next season. So, and of that top group,
nauseating long conversation.
Yeah, you need security of your position, which he has because he's on a rookie contract, and he has the quarterback attached to him for the minimum amount of time he's going to be there, and he has the ceiling. And they're the 4 for me that matter the most, because if you have floor and ceiling in that combination, you have age and security.
Right.
You are a wide receiver 1. That is the. It doesn't matter whether you have them as 1, 2, 3. I don't care. That puts you in that category.
Thanks, Taylor. See you later, homie.
See you, Taylor. Yeah, and that's why he's there. It's why he belongs there, and that's why we're happy to have those tiers, because that's how you justify making that purchase.
But I just want to say, right, because when you're switching your wide receiver 1s all the time, he's good, and he has a chance to be the one. That should put him in that tier. Don't overcomplicate things. So that's kind of wanted to talk about. Other than that, Hollywood Brown, like 15 targets, unbelievable. Bateman had 80 yards. Just what you want to see. Fuck Greg Roman as play calling. I'm sick of it. All right, since we're running, the time is just crushing today.
We'll keep picking 1 or 2. We have 1 player from each.
Let's kind of talk about the players on our list, because Tom and I developed a list of players that we wanted to talk about, and I'm just gonna kick him in the balls early. I'm gonna kick him in the balls hard. Calvin Ridley is booty cheeks. He's booty cheeks. People are shitting on Allen Robinson for being like wide receiver 56. Calvin Ridley's not doing that much better.
Yeah.
So Tom Lee. This is something that I'm not happy players do poorly. I wanted this to at least
no one loves this, right? Yeah.
I wanted this to at least be an argument.
Yes.
Are you ready to say Calvin Ridley's not an alpha wide receiver in the NFL? So he doesn't have let's take a look at what we just talked about Jamar Chase. He's off the line, he's doing it with speed, after the catch, tackle breaking, all that, right? Yeah. To be in that number 1 tier. Why is Calvin Ridley getting that respect when it's clear? And for all the haters, right? I got a Mike Saber for you haters right here. Okay? And I'm Vader. When you look at when the Atlanta Falcons needed a play, it was Kyle Pitts.
Yes.
double coverage, sideline, up the middle, away from his body. Elite playmaking ability at his age. Is Ridley I'm going to talk about that, right? Matt Donnelly from Dynasty Vipers Network. We're going to talk about what's good this evening. Is Ridley our generation's Juju? I'm old enough to remember Juju still. but I'm going to get there, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think he is, but the situation is not as different as you think. When Julio left, they're like, yeah, Calvin Ridley's going to replace Julio because of his 2020 production. That's not an outlier, right? But Kyle Pitts is going to replace Julio. I think it's pretty clear and distinctive that that's the other way. So at this point with Calvin Ridley, he was a consensus like top 5, top 8 receiver, definitely in everyone's top 12. Not me.
Yeah.
Are you finally willing to put him in that same tier as Deontay Johnson, the same tier as Amari Cooper, the same tier as insert another receiver in that age group / so DJ Moore, right? Which Moore over Ridley, but and I want to just look at some of the reasons why. Calvin Ridley in 2020 broke out the yards, the targets, not after the catch. He didn't create. He caught the balls thrown to him, and he caught some touchdowns, right?
Yep.
He's not catching the deep balls. He is not creating with the ball in his hands, and he's not getting the touchdowns. But he had 10 targets, but they look like empty targets when you really go into it. So Tom Lee, Calvin Ridley, are you finally willing to accept it for what he is, or what he at least appears to be? Because his 2021 numbers are on pace with 2019, and 2019 you were very disappointed.
Yeah, so Calvin Ridley is not a wide receiver 1 in the top tier. He can't be. So we talked about the 4 key factors before, right? He has not really got the age. He's got the age technically because he's 26, but he's an older wide receiver when he came out.
Late breakout.
He has the floor, right? That's a good thing. It's still a good thing, and it still keeps him relevant.
He does
because of the volume that he gets, right? So you look at his
lots of players
this year.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I'll give that.
His lowest score this year has been a 10, right? 10 in PPR. That's not a great score. Yeah, that's not a good score, right? But we're talking about floor. There's players who absolutely bust. He's not one of those guys yet. So we'll give him that one factor that keeps him up towards the top. You are.
I'm sorry, but he's wide receiver 41. I'm calling him a bust for the season.
For the season, yes, that's fine. So things that are bad for him. He's never had yak ability, and he will never have yak ability, right? That's a huge issue because right now the offense is not pass deep down the field. It's either take a shot to Kyle Pitts or it's check down to anyone who's around, right? So you see Cordell Patterson, who has explosivity and who can take a run to the house, is absolutely winning off it because he's getting heaps of touches near the line of scrimmage. You give heaps of touches to Calvin Ridley near the line of scrimmage, he's going to get 10 for 5 and 40 yards, right?
But he doesn't.
That's the issue. Yeah, that's the biggest issue. And he doesn't, and then that's it. So this offense is different to what we saw, and he is not what we thought and what we hoped he would be. So you have a player who is athletically limited, whilst a great route runner, athletically limited to the offense he's in. Comparable for me to someone like Keenan Allen, who is in a far better offense. So you've got and that's I think the ceiling for him now is Keenan Allen's career, in the hope that offense gets better, or in the hope that he goes somewhere else. He is still talented enough and still a much better player at creating separation than, say, a Juju was. And that was a comparison.
Juju was a slot receiver, and he got ousted as a slot receiver.
If he doesn't get his touchdown upside back, he is going to keep sliding ranking after ranking. He's going to go outside the top 10, 12. He's going to end up around, I think, that wide receiver 13 to 15 mark. And I think he'll hold there. I think that's your long-term is the top wide receiver 2 to 1 in Dynasty. Yeah. I think he'll end up in that wide receiver 13 to 16 place.
I disagree.
Long-term. Yeah, that's fine. But that is
per game.
Yeah.
In points per game in 2019, he was 18. This year, he's 26. Last year, he was number 4. But even in his rookie year, he only finished.
Yeah.
I believe it was wide receiver 20.
Yeah.
22. That's to me, that's not because. So this is why I don't agree. If you want to have him in that 15 to wide receiver 2 category, so you're banking on touchdowns then.
Yeah,
and Matt Ryan's going away.
Issue. That's a huge issue. Yeah.
So even in Arthur Smith's offense, Pitts is clearly AJ Brown, And Calvin Ridley would be Corey Davis if you want to look
Yep.
at it long term like that.
Yeah.
They have to try to sign Calvin Ridley.
Yep.
Will they re-sign Calvin Ridley? I don't know.
Don't know.
Right?
Yeah,
I don't know. There's so much to not know.
Yeah.
And Atlanta's bad. They're throwing the ball. Matt Ryan hasn't been that bad, and he's hard to watch. But Pitts is feasting.
Yeah.
Patterson is feasting. Right?
Because right now
Calvin Ridley looks like Calvin Ridley looks like he should be in the same category as Corey Davis should. It's what he looks like.
Yeah.
I think if last year doesn't happen, what do you mean, Tom? If last year doesn't happen for everyone, I know.
Yeah, you're creating your narrative.
But when you get a player,
yeah.
When you get a player with 2 years of this is what you see, and his rookie year was boosted by 10 touchdowns.
It was. He's always scored touchdowns, which has been an interesting thing. Yeah.
Right. He's got 2 this year in 7 games.
Yeah.
Okay. His statistics, 866, 821, 63 receptions, 64, 93, 92 targets. And then it jumps to 143.
Yeah.
Okay. And he's the wide receiver 5. When you have 2 years, a boom year, and then in his 4th year goes to the pace of his other years and worse, like before his breakout, right? At what point do you look at last year as this is what his outlier is and everything else is what he is? When do you start taking the polish off of the new toy?
So I think
Vipers,
one thing to clear up as well is that the wide receiver 13 to 15 is my prediction as to where he lands, if that makes sense. It's not what I think he is going to.
I understand that, but wide receiver 15 is uphill for him right now.
Yes. So the question is, what do we do with him? Because I've been trying to hold the hope on my boy for a while, but you're right. You can't take away the situation, the style of offense he's in, the way he's being used. He's not athletic enough to be a difference maker like that. He needs to score touchdowns. He needs to get volume, and he needs to catch over the middle on play action plays. They don't have the run game to support that. The throws to Cordero Patterson short of the line because he's so explosive, and the shots to Pitts because he's explosive as well make a lot of sense. Because the rest of that offense is dog shit, right? It's a huge concern for Calvin Ridley and what you do with him. If you can sell the name now, I'm far more in your camp where you were a few weeks ago of do it, because you're not going to get the upside that we think could be there unless he starts scoring touchdowns and they turn this thing around. It's not going to happen because this offense is based on running the ball, creating play action opportunities for 20-yard shots. Right now, they're creating play action opportunities for slant routes 5 yards down the field. And that's what he's getting. He's getting 10 targets, 5 to 10 yards down the field. He's catching a bunch of them, but it's nothing. You can't do anything with that. So that's the huge concern right now is they either, and this is why it was so frustrating to me that they didn't take Javonte Williams and bring him in, because that system relies on developing the run game, and you don't have the pieces there to do it. Great bring in for Cordero Patterson because it gives you that second option, that backup option. Yeah. But without establishing the run, Ridley's rendered useless as a fantasy option. He's going to just be floor. He's going to be Corey Davis, like you said.
But that's why I wanted to mention, when you're going into the offseason or even right now, if you think Calvin Ridley is a 15 guy, and that means you're probably looking at him still at his ceiling. So I would even say dial it back even more. So at that point, is he worth a trade for? Well, the person who has him probably still expects him to be that guy, because Ridley's believers were believers. There was no doubt. And then everyone else was kind of like, I'll let you have him because he's too expensive. First round pick for Calvin Ridley is something I'm not paying. I'm not doing it. I'm not going to do it. I would rather take the field of rookies, right? And get an Olave, etc. If you can, obviously, if you can, right? Top 5 pick probably. Or the other kid, I can't remember his name right now, right? But you're not going to get that. So you know the one I'm talking about. He's 6'3", 220, runs like an antelope. Unbelievable. I just can't remember his fucking name. Give me a break.
Pickens?
Yeah, it's the one.
George Pickens,
So I'm not trading those guys for Ridley in C2C leagues. I'm not doing it. Devi, I'm not doing it. And there's a bunch of receivers that I wouldn't trade DJ Moore for Calvin Ridley straight up. I wouldn't have done it beforehand. No. I'm not doing it.
DJ Moore's way more explosive and athletic. This is a key differentiator. Yeah.
Yes, but people were doing that, right? So to me, you have to look at him like he's a wide receiver 18 to 20. But Tom, he said 15. Why is 18 notable? Because that's a big difference.
It's a teardrop. Yeah.
It's a teardrop.
Yeah.
So that's why it matters. It's a huge difference. So yeah, like try to look at him a little bit even lower than that. If you have him, you're stuck with them because you probably drafted him high.
I think that's
but
the key. I'm not sending him away for that because I'm waiting. I'm hoping that the touchdown, and without telling him in my leagues what's happening, I'm waiting for the touchdowns to swing back the way they should towards the end of the year. Because again, Squeaky Workers, even if they want to move him on, they've got to feature him. So I think the touchdowns will swing. I think he'll have a couple of big games towards the end of the year. That is when you sell. I'm much more in your category now. If you need to move him on because he's getting older, the offense isn't getting better soon, and unless he ends up, even if he does end up in a different team, he's not athletic enough to make a difference unless it's a stud offense, and that's a difference between say like a Diggs who went across the other year and became awesome. He's athletic. He does it differently. That's not the same thing here as Calvin Ridley. You need him to be in the ideal situation with the great offense to be the Cooper Cup upside. It's just not the same. So we're in a bit of concern as part of the Calvin Ridley narrative squad. There are huge red flags on the play right now for me.
Right, and I just think that's what I want people to understand. Right,
yeah.
is be a little more objective. Right, yeah. Calvin Ridley had never been that dominant number one until last year. In a perfect scenario, Julio missed games, hyper targeted. The system was already there. The coaching staff wasn't different, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Correct. Yeah.
Worse running back situation than they have now. Like all these things. So maybe it's time to adjust that. Maybe move off of him, or when you're acquiring, he's a buy low, but be smart about it. Okay, if you're trading for him at 15, exactly.
Yeah.
Be a little more objective when it comes to Calvin Ridley. Is all I'm. Man, we're gonna blow our time here. All right.
I know. Again, this is what we're talking about. This is the stuff we're dealing with out there. These are the conversations that we're having, and it's the middle of the season. We need to start making these moves. We need to know what narratives. What we need to walk through what's happening here. So
exactly. Nice title pitch there. I liked it. We're gonna end up having to do more of these a week at this rate. Okay, look. I want to get through 2 players, right? I want to get through 2 more. 2 more. Okay.
Yep.
For the record, we had Bateman on here. We had Elijah Mitchell on here. We had Miles Sanders on here. Miles Sanders, just saying his name makes me want to puke anyway, so we're going to avoid that. We're going to talk DeAndre Hopkins first, then we're going to talk about Justin Fields. I think the Justin Fields one is worth talking at the end.
Yeah.
Because
we're going to end on a sad note.
You're going to want to stick around for this one. You can at me. My ad is at Thomas Tipple FF. You're going to want to. Be ready. Both barrels. I don't care.
Yeah.
DeAndre Hopkins. I'm just going to make sure to pull this up so people can actually at me. DeAndre Hopkins. To me, he's not an elite fantasy asset right now. The argument is that he is. I really super duper don't think so. He's the wide receiver 12 right now in your standard PPR stuff, and has scored 2, 4, 6, 7 touchdowns in 7 games.
Yes.
The games where he has not scored 5.10 fantasy points and 10.7. So at this point, his receiving yards has not hit 90 yet this year. Does not have more than 2 games, he has 3 games with 5 or more catches. Okay. And then we're talking about a guy again who's making his money short and in the red zone. He's a goal line receiver at this point. Yes. So why is DeAndre Hopkins still an elite fantasy asset? I don't think he is, and I'll explain why, but I want to hear you first because people are probably sick of me talking. Shout out. Why is he still an elite asset, Tom Lee?
His Madden catch radius, maybe? He's essentially 4 years older Calvin Ridley. That in a better offense. That's essentially what we're playing with here.
Yes, thank you.
That's really what he is, because
that's this year. Yeah. So if you're gonna at me, I'm not saying fucking.
No, DeAndre Hopkins is an amazing wide receiver. Has been for a long period of time.
He's going to be in the Hall of Fame.
He still makes ridiculous catches. He's still a good route runner. He does not have the juice to take the top off the defense anymore. Whether he had it, feel free to at Tom Moore to argue it. But
I'm just offering to at me.
the reason he's still good is because of that offense, right? They have
Right.
touchdown scoring upside. They have a lot of red zone opportunities.
I was going to say more specifically the red zone.
Yeah, correct. You're looking at your sort of Mike Evans drop off, that sort of style receiver now, where because they're in good offenses, because they have good quarterbacks who throw the ball and like to throw them the ball, they're going to have these big boom games, but they're also going to have absolutely floor dust games. So the games that Ridley's having, which are the floor games with no ceiling, you're not going to get, but you're going to get the 2s and the 5-point games, which are more and more of a concern. And that's why he's not, as you said, an elite wide receiver for fantasy anymore. He was one of the biggest sells in the offseason for both of us. One, the age narrative alone was already concerning. Two, the way that offense was headed, it was going to be more 4 wide receiver wide sets. It was going to be a lot more play.
Yep.
Like the running game was just there to sort of distract and take pressure off Kyler. It's just designed about sharing, and then they're going to start, and even with Ertz now, you're going to start sharing around that touchdown load. So I don't know if it's going to get any better towards the end of the season. You're going to have boom games, and if you want him in your lineup to have some of those games, by all means have him. But it's only going to get worse from here for me for D-Hop.
420 yards on the season. Christian Kirk has 408, and AJ Green has 406.
Yeah.
Right? Kingsbury, we're now seeing what his offense is. Like in full bloom. We're seeing what his offense is.
If that was 2 or 3, if that was 2 wide receivers from those 3 guys, fantastic. But it's not. Because that offense is different.
Exactly. Then the attempts are right up there. Right? He's already at 223.
Yeah.
Right? The touchdown's crazy, 17. He's going to smash his previous high. He's not getting sacked as much. Like it's crazy what he's doing. And Kyler Murray's not running. He's only got 43 attempts for 126 yards. He's not running.
Yeah, because he can give it to someone else to do
DeAndre
exactly
Hopkins,
the same job now. Yeah.
Right. DeAndre Hopkins was kind of a target monster. That's always what he has been throughout his entire. That was his big allure. He's great. Oh, target monster. But he's only got 33 receptions this year. So last year he had 115 receptions, 1,400 yards, and 6 touchdowns. That's crazy. He's got 7, but you're missing everything else. His average, like per catch and everything, is the same. That's great, but he's not getting the volume anymore, and I don't know if he will. So I believe personally that DeAndre Hopkins' elite wide receiver status is narrative driven now because we're nitpicking touchdowns. We all say that touchdowns aren't sticky, but now DeAndre Hopkins' touchdowns are sticky. So to me, I'm selling for sure. Even on a contending team, I would move it.
Yeah. Because you want me to move
contending teams, you usually are short on assets, right? For the most part, the way fantasy works. But in my league, I don't care. Most people, right? You need assets. I'm trying to move him, man. Give me T. Higgins, right?
Oh, absolutely.
I take T. Higgins straight up right now.
Yeah.
Straight up. Don't care. So yeah, in Dynasty, he's lower for me. The targets, well, the volume's been okay. Yeah, but he's not converting. Not converting big. And yeah, I'm going to eat my words and he's going to go off and whatever. But we've seen 7 weeks.
He's going to have some of those boom games.
7 games of this now. 7 games of this now. We've seen enough. We know what he is in this offense now. AJ Green is doing this kind of stuff right now in that offense.
Yeah.
So without injuries to other receivers at this point, I don't know the volume. They're running the ball, right? Connor and Edmund. I don't think DeAndre Hopkins is an elite option. So Jacob, we're going to have to, I think, people VRTDB this one. Jacob thinks he is. I don't think he is. So last player we're going to get out of here with today, and big shout out to everyone hanging in there with us, is Justin Fields. And we're going to keep it as brief as possible.
Yeah.
And remember, at Thomas Tipple FF on the Bird app in the ether. You can go over to TikTok, Thomas Tipple on TikTok, Thomas Tipple FF, or just Thomas Tipple. I actually can't remember which one it is because I'm terrible at doing these promos. All right, or you can jump in the chat on Friday and let me know how much of a piece of trash I am. But Justin Fields scares the shit out of me. Period. He doesn't look like he can competently operate the basics of an NFL offense. But Matt Nagy, I get it. But at what point does he take responsibility for not being able to do the minimum? Give Allen Robinson the ball when he's wide open.
Yes.
So I'm sorry, Blake Bortles could hit and find Allen Robb, right? But he's a rookie. Well, this is why it concerns me. Justin Jefferson. Oh my God. Justin Fields wishes he was Justin Jefferson. Actually, not the paycheck. No. But yeah. Justin Fields can't do much of anything, but he was being taken ahead of Jamar Chase. He was being taken ahead of Trey Lance. There were a lot of instances where he was taken above Trevor Lawrence. Justin Fields looks like he's playing about as well as Dwayne Haskins did, and Dwayne Haskins got roasted by everyone for playing this bad. And what was supposed to save Fields, Tom Lee? Well, his rushing. Oh, he can run. He's an elite runner. He can run. Elite runner. He's going to run a lot. Oh, in the preseason, he ran for 50 yards and a half. Good for him. Happy for him. He's never rushed for 50 yards at a game. He's rushed for 40 yards in a game one time. One time is against Green Bay, which he scored only 14.3 fantasy points with 43 rushing yards. 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Has never thrown for 2 touchdowns. Has significantly more interceptions, 2 touchdowns. Looks completely taken out of football when he's on the bench. What does that mean? Well, it matters to me. Right? When you put the whole picture together in 5 years, you're like, oh, Jay Cutler was shit because he didn't care.
Yep.
Whatever. Like, admit to yourself, that worries you a little. Drew Lock literally got drafted because he was lip syncing on the sidelines. Right? So people do that shit. Believe me. But he hasn't even hit 10 fantasy points more than once. Right? So he's not using his legs. He's not scrambling. He's not taking off. His pocket awareness is terrible. The offense looks like absolute booty cheeks. Matt Nagy's still doing Matt Nagy things, sure.
Yep.
But Montgomery's been gone. Khalil Herbert looks like he's been amazing. So Tom Lee, Justin Fields, Sam Darnold had looked better in his rookie year than Fields has looked now. Sam Darnold looked better in his second year, statistically, than what Justin Fields looks like now.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Like, what
happened this weekend?
We had a brief chat before the show, right? Because we wanted to try and get most of this out of the way before we got on air. And the concern is you can look at whichever area you want. You can look at film or you can look at analytics. And both don't look good for him right now. All right. He doesn't look ready.
They both look terrible.
They both look terrible. He doesn't look ready for the NFL, right? Which as a rookie is fine, right? I'm happy to give the grace for most rookies to do that. The issue is, like you said, that he's not doing anything, right?
Yeah.
Like whether it's running and again, whether it's part Nagy, part him, it doesn't really matter because what you want to see is rookies asking, okay, coach, how do I get better? What can I do that's going to change what's happening here? Because right now he's getting sacked, he's getting picked, he's sitting on the bench going, fuck, this sucks. I hate playing football right now, right?
Yeah, I was just winning 55-3. What happened?
There's no win if you keep letting this player who, and again, we know what we hate this word upside. We know what the athletic upside could be, but whether it's him, Nagy, both, or it doesn't really matter because it just is right now. There is no positive from this. There's nowhere to go. So something needs to change quickly. Whether it's his attitude, whether it's Nagy's ability to set up a game plan. Doesn't really matter what it is, but something needs to change this year so that we don't all just start getting off Justin Fields. Because right now, really, I mean, your best, ideally, he gets benched behind Dalton again and we start letting him develop for next year. Because at the moment, he's only hurting his stock, his confidence in the game, and the faith of the city behind him as well. Like, there's no win from this right now.
I just want to mention, right? And this is why it's important. Justin Fields had more questions than everyone wanted to admit, right? He did, right? This isn't helmet scouting, so don't think it's that, right? But he turned the ball over, I believe, in college, at least enough to be concerning. He's turning the ball over now. His pocket awareness isn't where anyone thought it would be, right? He's not moving around. He's not running on broken plays. He's missing his reads, and when he throws the ball, he's throwing the ball poorly more often than he isn't. And you can't say he doesn't have receivers because he has receiving talent. He has a tight end, and the running game hasn't been that bad.
No, it's been good. Yeah.
They've just been behind.
Yeah.
So it I am red flagging 7 weeks in. And Jacob, I know you said, well, you're impatient. I'm impatient, but I'm also objective, and I'm not blocking out the fact that there are problems.
Yeah.
There are problems, big problems for your fantasy team. He's not fantasy viable. And at least with Trey Lance, you did see him run. So he was fantasy viable when he starts. But I'm even not excited about that. And I'm not excited about Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson's in as much dog shit as Justin Fields is for me. And I don't care if you weren't on Wilson before or you were on him and you were off Fields but were on Fields. I don't care. They've looked the same, period. Period. They've looked the same to me. There's Lawrence and there's Mac Jones right now, right? That's it for the rookie QBs for fantasy. That's it. That's all I want to play right now. It's hard, and I'm not saying, look, don't hear what I'm not saying. I'm not saying bail on Fields. Fields suck. Trade him for a third. That's not what I'm telling you.
No,
but when
we still love Justin Fields, right?
Yes, I'm trying to move.
We want him to do well. This could be an awesome asset, but right now, like we said, his value is going down every single game because he's actively hurting his own stock.
Right. Even if he showed a little bit, just a little bit, I'd be less hesitant to feel bad. But he's shown nothing.
Because Hurts still has all these problems, right? And that's why everyone's off Hurts this year. But he runs and he scores. That's the difference.
His best game.
Yeah.
Right? When people, whatever, again, it was 14.3 points, 59% completion. He had 27 attempts, 6.4 yards per attempt, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, and 43 rushing yards, no rushing touchdowns. It's not great. Taylor Heineke did more damage than that. Like, there's reasons to be concerned, and I just want to say that you're validated for your concern.
Yeah.
As long as you're
don't
concerned
just
for the right
dump him,
reasons.
but yes, start taking some of the shine off the narrative of this guy's amazing. Just make sure that you do your due diligence and watch what's actually happening, because it's not looking good right now as far as what's going to happen the rest of the year. So I hope something changes for this kid, because I really do like him. Yeah.
100%. All right. That's it. My budgie smuggler of the week. Don't think I forgot that. I kind of did, but don't think that I totally forgot that. Oh boy. I think oh my God. You know what? Jameis Winston. I think he's going to put his budgie smugglers on and strut his stuff down the beach against his former team in Tampa Bay, potentially. No, MT won't be back this week, but potentially Jameis Winston coming in there, using Alvin Kamara like a wide receiver, extra confidence, budgie smuggler. I'll say QB 16 on this week.
Okay, that's all right. That's a moderate pair of budgie smugglers. It's moderate packing heat. Yeah, a little warmth. Yeah,
a moderate. Yeah, it's not the smallest budgie smuggler he.
No, you just popped it in the microwave for a couple of seconds just to warm it up a touch.
100%. All right, Tom Lee, what do you got for final thoughts before we get the hell out of here?
I'll give you a quick Aussie slang.
Walkabout.
Yeah, weird episode of the Walkabout, but I like it. We're a bit weird. We're a bit different. It's Australian. It's fine. She'll be right. That's the classic go-to. Quick Aussie slang to get out of here. Whether you call it, we're going with bogan, right? Now, you may have heard this one. People may know it. Bogan.
I haven't.
Right? So your bogans are essentially your lower socioeconomic, but like classic cultural style Australian people. So it's not really comparative to like a redneck as like a stereotype in the US, but it's kind of along those lines, right? It's the people who are kind of
Paul Hogan-y.
But like not cool. It's not cool to be a bogan, right? Your bogans are ones without any money but don't give a shit. They're just sort of slacking around. They're
hippies.
Yeah, but hippies are kind of got like a cool like lifestyle. There's nothing fun about being a bogan, right? Bogan is just you're downtrodden. You offer nothing to society. You drink the cheapest beer. You get pissed every weekend. You're working minimum wage jobs. Like that's your bogan.
And you're somehow a street musician.
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah, and you hang out with your mates. You get pissed at the beach with, and we drink 4X up here. It's essentially a mid-strength beer that tastes like Vegemite in a yellow can.
Vegemite.
But without them, they're a staple of Australian society, because to be a bogan is like a beautiful thing, because you get to see them in the glory that they are, because these are the people that you meet on the street. These are the everyday bogans. We love them. You never want to be them, but at the same time, it's a great little insult to be, mate, you've never been more bogan than this, because you've let your standards drop and now you're just a bit of a mess. So
I love that. Yeah. I love that.
Enjoy.
I like that one. I like the one's a little bit of a story in there.
A little bit of a story, yeah.
I love it. I love it. Look, my final thoughts are always going to be the same thing. And as I expressed earlier today with somebody that I really seem to dislike for obvious reasons, right? Be kind to people, right? Be courteous, show some love to one another, especially when it's earned, right? That's always going to be my final message all the time, is just try to have a good time. Be out there, have a good time, vibe it out. Say hi to your loved ones, check in on them, check in on your friends. Don't overdo it with the tilting. Hopefully we helped you out a little bit today. Thanks for sticking around with us. Always remember that clear eyes, full hearts can't lose, and that the best days are spent tilting. Good night, everybody. We'll see you on Friday. Peace.